We wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we are recording on in Perth, Western Australia.
The Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation.
We wish to acknowledge their continuing culture
and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging.
G'day and welcome to Diz Down Under, episode 247. My name is Lewis and sitting across from me is my wife Catherine, and we're here to speak about our unofficial view of Disney from Australia.
Hello.
And unlike last week, we're prepared. Well,
I don't think we were unprepared last week. It's just that there wasn't much to speak about.
Well, I think the Emmys got us a bit because it was like, we'd heard that some Emmys had been won and other Emmys hadn't been won, and it was like we didn't know what was going on, but it was all the technical Emmys got awarded earlier, and the actual Emmys weren't happening until that weekend.
That night.
Oh, that night, yeah. And so now those Emmys have been done.
Oh, yay. Tell us the results, Lewis.
So, well, the as far as Marvel went, the awards they won was the Outstanding Original Musical and Lyrics for from WandaVision for Agatha All Along. So that won the best Outstanding Original Music. That
was part of the technical ones.
That's right, yes, yeah. They also won Outstanding Production Design from a narrative program, half an hour. Mm-hmm. So that was another one that they won. And they also won Outstanding Fantasy and Sci-Fi Costumes.
For?
WandaVision. All three of them won WandaVision. And Falcon and the Winter Soldier won nothing. And as far as like all the acting ones, neither Falcon and the Winter Soldier nor WandaVision won any of those.
Boo.
No, all those tended to go to Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
Mm-hmm. And
what a great show. And
also went to The Crown, pretty much. So if you're in The Crown or Ted Lasso, then
it's self-correcting.
Then you got an Emmy. But if you weren't in The Crown or Ted Lasso, then you didn't get anything at all.
See, Ted Lasso, I can understand. The Crown, what did they get?
I think The Crown got...
I know this is completely not Disney, but I have to know.
Outstanding. The guy who played Prince Charles, the younger Prince Charles, mm-hmm. He got Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series, mm-hmm. which is kind of weird because I thought that was last year, but I guess it was kind of... He won some People's Choices, but yeah, so... Olivia Colman, Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if anyone else from that got it. Kate Winslet got Outstanding Lead Actress in a Limited Series or Movie, mm-hmm. For that Mayor of Mayor of Easttown? I think that's what it's called. And Ewan McGregor got...
no, I was just asking what The Crown got.
Yeah, sorry, okay, well, I'll just leave that there. But
I didn't need to know the whole award ceremony.
Yeah, so but the unfortunate thing is that, genre... things like WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier still, they don't, these people who are voting on these awards, they just don't see the value in these shows.
Yeah. Which
is frustrating because they're really good shows, they're really well made shows, and they've still got this stigma of being, they're comic book shows.
Maybe it's a little bit of that. Maybe it's just, it is what it is. Like maybe they were just so taken with the Queen fandom stuff, but you've got to admit Ted Lasso is just an outstanding show.
Ted Lasso is good, but is it as good as WandaVision?
I think it's less produced. I think that if you produce an outstanding show with less like effects and stuff like that, I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I just think it's a good show, but I think maybe it's just a tad overrated.
Anyway,
but yeah, so unfortunately, that is that's the extent of it. WandaVision was nominated for a great deal of awards and picked up very few, which is unfortunate. But one day, those people who are voting on those awards won't be around any longer, and and people who've got taste will take their place, and then maybe genre will actually get a look in. So
yeah, but I mean, I think the awards aren't the be all and end all. Oh, yeah, and Robin agrees.
No, the awards aren't the be all and end all, but it's just
like some things just show the test of time. And you look at it like there's things like The Princess Bride, which I don't think was particularly critically acclaimed, particularly well received in terms of critics. That was like 34 years ago. 34 years ago, and people are still watching it, on the regular, and people are like reading the books still. Like, you can readily buy the book in the shops.
Well,
so
I agree. It's like
it's just one of those things where it's only got the weight that you put on it.
Yeah, but I could still be, you're frustrated by the fact that they
bitter man.
No, I'm just frustrated by the fact that these people who are supposed to be, in the industry and like look at the whole of the industry are so myopic in the way that they do things. They just like look at one certain area and yes, that's what we can vote for, and anything outside of that is, we can't vote for that. That's a comic book thing. So it's just frustrating, but. I love it when they accidentally vote for things that are actually based on comic books, and that is always very funny to me when they realize that they've voted for something that's based on a comic book.
Like, I wasted my vote.
But yeah, so
but I'm all joking aside. It's literally today is 34 years ago today that the Princess Bride was premiered in North America.
Wow!
So like 34 years.
That's a long time ago.
I think we're due a watch for that.
Yeah.
I recently reread the book, so it was interesting to do.
There wasn't a book you read though, was it? Was it was
a book.
Yeah, but was it the story of the princess?
It wasn't the screenplay.
No.
It was the book.
So the book, but didn't you say the book was kind of like?
It's complicated. It's not for the show.
Right. Okay.
It's a tangent city.
We can go off tangent. We don't need to necessarily.
I know.
The best Disney shows are the ones when people go all over the place. So if you've got something to say, you should say it.
Really?
Yes.
It's kind of complicated in that The Princess Bride was written by someone completely different from the person than the book that I read. I read an abridged version. Mm-hmm. So what happened with it is the guy, I'm just trying to think what his name is, William Goldman, I think it is. My mind's failing me. It is William Goldman. He did like this abridged version because his love for the book started when he was a kid. And so he kind of rewrote it based on the bits that his dad used to skip over. And his dad used to skip over all the stuff that he was just like, man, it's just boring. This is all that happens. And so what would happen is it would be the text, and then it would get to a bit where he had done a cut, and he's just like, the bit that I've cut out here is 51 pages of such and such packing her bags. Like literally 51 pages. Oh, and 3 pages of her unpacking. At the other end. And so you're just like, oh yeah, well that makes sense. And so, yeah, but it's just an interesting read in terms of having that running commentary going through the book. So you kind of get the experience of him having like had such a huge involvement in such a beloved film and how he came to get involved with it. And then there's actually a sequel. And I think it's called, is it Buttercup's Baby or something like that? And so he was only ever allowed to touch one chapter of the sequel because there's this big long thing where he was going to do it and then he was like kind of kicked off the deal. And yeah, it's just interesting the way that Hollywood works, but also the way that people sort of fall into these projects, and when they're a passion project, like how much weight it has for them. So, you getting all bitter about the comics and stuff like that. There's this, guy who put his all into getting this movie up and going and then did this beautifully, I thought like this beautifully commentated abridged version of The Princess Bride. And I don't know. It's just like the bitterness that came with some of his experiences with it. It's interesting.
But it was kind of good the way that book is written, though, because when you think about The Princess Bride, the movie, the movie is told through a grandpa telling the story to his grandson.
Yeah.
So it's a great kind of way of reading the book, and like.
But that was how he was introduced to the book. He never actually read the book himself until he was, much, much older and was reading it to his kids. He had the book read to him by his father.
Yeah, and then,
so when he was very ill.
And so that's a good way of doing the book, and a good way of like avoiding all the boring parts. So
it's just like you don't need to know what happens here. So yeah, it's kind of cool, but yeah, I don't know. I feel bad for you, but can you turn whatever's on your screen off?
No, I can't because it's reference material.
It's reference material.
Yeah.
I'm finding it very distracting. Did you want to talk about getting a little bit of showtime in yesterday?
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Because we did go to the Perth Royal Show, which is as close as you get to a theme park in Perth at this time of year.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Except it's like old school. You pay to get in and you pay per ride.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an agricultural show. So originally the point of it was to have people come and get their cows and pigs and chickens voted on to see who's got the best cow, pigs and chickens and ducks, yeah. And then they introduced at one point these show bags. I believe originally the show bags were promo kind of thing. So you'd put in bits and pieces of your product to promote it. But then they got to a point where you were just selling these show bags with lollies and bits of plastic toys and stuff like that.
And Phantom comics.
And
Wolverine comics.
Yeah.
That were my first comics that I ever read.
And they had those kind of things in there, and they're always horrendously overpriced for what you actually get in the show bag.
Some of them were good value back in the day.
Yeah, you reckon?
Yeah, my sister and I were pretty savvy, and we would only we would go, oh no, well you can buy that, and that in the shops so why would you get that? But this has all of this, and it has these bonuses, so. We had it all sussed. Yeah.
But I went there fully expecting to buy heaps of show bags yesterday, and ended up I just bought 2 Birdie Beetle show bags.
Heaps of show bags.
Well, I was thinking maybe I'll get the Hubba Bubba one, and maybe I'll get the Allen's Lollies ones, but they were just not good value, compared to.
Sorry, Hubba Bubba?
Yeah, I used to love getting the bubblegum ones.
Wow.
They were great. But yeah, and we went.
Actually, the Birdie Beetle one was interesting because everyone that we went with had a Birdie Beetle bag by the end of the day.
Yeah.
Everyone. That's pretty funny.
And they're not the best chocolate in the world. But
but everyone got one because you were getting one, so it's like, oh, get me one too.
Yeah. So yeah, it was good fun to just have a walk around the show, and we walked through where all the rides were. But we didn't. The only ride we actually did was a chairlift. And that was quite good fun, just to do the chairlift from one side of the park to the other. So, but really, I mean, I was kind of tempted to do the Gravitron, but the only thing I had been eating and drinking that day was beer and a corn dog, or a Dagwood dog, or a Kiwi dog, depending on where you are in the world.
No, corn dogs are quite different.
Right, okay.
Because Dagwood dogs and Kiwi dogs, I would say, are the same thing, but it's more of a batter. It doesn't have that cornmeal kind of aspect.
Oh, okay.
So have you not noticed that it's quite spongy when we get it in America in particular?
No.
Okay. You're not very big on textures, are you? But the other big thing, and I'm going to post a picture of us indulging in these wonders, is that you dip the hot Dagwood dog in tomato sauce. And then the tomato sauce sort of I don't know, it doesn't soak in, but there's something about the flavor of tomato sauce once it's heated up a little bit. Oh, so good. My mouth's watering just thinking about it.
Yep.
But it was good.
They need more, but they only dip the top maybe third of it in there.
Yeah, we got a reject dipper.
Yeah. You need to dip lower than that.
Yeah.
You need to cover at least half of it in tomato
definitely.
sauce. But yeah, that was good. So that was the only thing that was literally the only thing I ate at the Royal Show. Was that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, because I got snacks later.
Yeah.
And we had some chips as well.
Yeah. And I ate, had that and then just drank beer. And then when I saw the Gravitron, I was like, oh, we could go on that, but maybe that would be bad. Because that's the ride where you get into it and it like spins around really fast.
And then the floor drops out from underneath.
And then you stick to the wall.
Oh, wow.
So that would be cool. But yeah, we didn't do that. And there was 2 ghost trains there.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have done those, but someone doesn't do those kind of things.
I would have given it a go.
Yeah?
Yeah, I just would have punched people in the... No, I wouldn't have. That's like, I just don't like people touching me. And I think that probably in these COVID times, you wouldn't have had anyone touching you.
Yes, definitely.
It would have been like one of those just probably jumping out in front of you kind of things. Well, I probably could have dealt with that.
Yeah, maybe next year we shall go and do those then.
Maybe, as long as COVID rules still apply.
So that was good. We
had a really action-packed day yesterday when you think about it.
Yeah. We my favorite wrestling federation here in Perth, Explosive Pro Wrestling. They the Royal Show every day, and they're doing shows at 11.
Is it Explosive? Is it EC dub now?
No, it's EP dub.
EP dub.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was originally Explosive Coastal Wrestling.
Oh, they changed it. Then, I wasn't sure which way it changed.
But then the WWE went, excuse me, please change your name.
Cease and desist.
Yeah. And so they changed it to Explosive Pro Wrestling, EP dub. And they've been around for over 20 years. They've got some phenomenal wrestlers. Some wrestlers have gone to America and become a part of the WWE.
I know, it's funny because like Davis Storm's one of them, hey?
Pardon?
Davis Storm, didn't he go to do WWE stuff?
No. Davis Storm is the godfather of Perth wrestling. He's always been here in Perth.
Oh, so he didn't go across?
No. It was Mikey Nichols and Shane Haste. And recently Jonah Rock went over and became a character called Bronson Reed and was...
That's very complicated.
Yeah, and was treated very, very poorly by the WWE. So, yes. But that's the way WWE is now. They kind of chew you up and spit you out, which is not nice.
Oh, that's not pleasant.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, so at EPW was great. So they got like 4 shows a day, and it was just packed out. It was like, there must have been like, 200 or 300 people in there. It was really, really cool. So
we were kind of lucky though, because one of our friends is a member of the Agricultural Society, and so he got us some lounge tickets for the lounge. So that was kind of nice because one of our party was a little bit older and needed a bit of a sit down and a bit of air conditioning to sort of cool down because it was quite a hot day yesterday. And so we chilled out and went up there, and I got to see the sheep. Is it sheep trials or the dog trials? I always forget.
The sheep and dog trials.
It's where the someone goes out there with their dog and rounds up a little flock of sheep, and they have to do certain things. They have to go over bridges and stuff. And I loved it. I forgot because one of the things in New Zealand is that we only had 2 TV channels when I was there. And one of the things on a Sunday afternoon used to be that you'd have these trials on. So it'd just be, you'd just literally watch, I reckon probably an hour, maybe 2 of these sheepdog trials. Maybe it's sheepdog trials. Maybe that's what, I don't know. And I watched it and I thought it was quite brilliant. I forget how brilliant it is. They should put that back on telly. I'd watch it.
I'm pretty sure you can find it on TV.
It's a great sport. So I watched a bit of that and it was good fun.
Excellent. And you did say that we had a busy day yesterday.
Oh, yes.
Because because Kat was inspired by the Jungle Cruise and decided, because we live fairly close to a river, within...
It was inspired by a lot of things, including Moana as well, because I'm just like, how peaceful is it being out in the water? Yeah, sorry. Continue.
And so we live fairly close to a river, and there's this nice little, a nice little access point where you can kind of like put your little boat into the river and then like jump in and then paddle off without getting too wet. It's a kind of very similar to, when you're in Shanghai Disneyland and you get into the canoes there.
Oh, yeah.
You know how it's kind of like you've got a dock and then you just like, jump in the canoe and...
Yeah, I just need like someone to like hold my hand as I step into the boat.
And so...
I've got you.
Yeah, exactly. And so Kat decided we need to get kayaks or canoes. But they're
kayaks.
Your kayaks, yeah. So the ones you sit in, like not the ones where it's more like a surf ski kind of thing, but these are ones you like sit in.
Yeah.
And then there's at the back of it, there's a little dry area that you can store stuff if you need to, and you can actually there's a pole if you want to go fishing. There's a pole where you can fish
Not
from.
a pole.
Well,
There's
sorry,
a pole holder.
There's a pole hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can put
a pole hole.
You put
a pole holder.
Yeah. You can put your pole in the pole hole and you can go fishing. So we got these canoes yesterday, and we were really hoping to get out there this weekend to have a crack. And
well, we were kind of hoping, but it was like one of those wistful kind of things because the forecast, we've got a long weekend here in Perth. It's the Queen's birthday tomorrow, not the real Queen. And well, because it's not her real birthday tomorrow.
Other Queen's birthdays are available.
Yeah.
So that's how you deal with that. That's how you deal with that.
We also call it the monarch's birthday at work. So yeah, why acknowledge it? But we do, and we get an extra day off. So yay. But Saturday, great weather. Sunday, 80% chance of rain and probably storms and thunders and lightnings. And Monday, probably fairly average as well. And we're like, oh, maybe we should leave it. And your advice was maybe we should leave this kayak buying game until later. I was just like, no, let's do it now. We know they're there. And then it's ready to go for the next time that it's actually fine because, we might wake up at 5 a.m. one morning and just go, hey, let's go for a kayak. Probably not. But
stranger things have happened.
Well, that's true. But it was like one of those things where like, let's do this. And so we didn't think that the weather was going to be very good today. We went to the gym this morning, of all things. And in the gym, it was just pounding down. Like the rain was so intense. I've never the windows, there's like some windows on like the far side of the gym and they were saturated. The weather never comes in from that direction. And it was just like, wow, this is intense. And like really bucketing down, which you don't really get this time of year necessarily. And so we're just like, okay, well, that's off the books. And then later on we're like going, oh, the weather's actually looking okay. So we checked out the forecast and we was like, maybe we can do this. And we did.
We did. We actually walked. Originally, we had these like wheels that you can attach to the kayaks, but they don't like. We didn't have ocky straps to hold them down, so we're kind of balancing these kayaks on the wheels, and they kept falling off. So we decided that we'd just like carry them instead. So we carried them the last way to the river, and then carried them all the way back. And it was pretty good exercise because they weigh 15 kilos each. So
well, they're about 16 kilos, and then we had the wheels as well that we were carrying. So I think either it's like we have to make that determination that we either just carry the boats or we work out this ocky strap.
I'm with carrying them as long as it's
is ocky strap a term that's like universal?
No, I think ocky strap's an Australian term.
Okay.
They probably call them something else in the rest of the world.
Yeah. I
like
wonder if
stretchy straps.
Stretchy straps.
Stretchy straps.
I wonder if they're called ocky straps because they're kind of like octopus things, like you can kind of stretch them and put them around things.
No idea.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it was cool. We went and did the trial run today. Went and had a paddle up to the weir.
I know. And then we came back and did like a little backwater because I was just like, I'm not ready to get out. And so it wasn't quite the backside of water, but it was a little backwater. And that was kind of cool.
Saw some wood ducks.
We did. Were they Muscovy ducks? I'm not sure. I need one of those. When we were kids.
Spot your poultry.
Shush. No, when we were kids, and we first came to Australia, Mum and Dad got this book and it's got all the birds that are in Australia and whether they're native or not. And so, if you spotted a bird, you could pretty much, it was kind of like, it wasn't an index system, but you could kind of like go to the parrot section and then you could work out what kind of bird you just seen because there were pictures and you could sort of narrow it down. And I think I need one of those books.
Yes.
Just go steal mum and dad's.
A waterproof one, possibly.
No, I wouldn't take it out of the water.
Now we've got still some stuff to talk about on the show.
Okay, sorry. I led you down a tangent, and I'm going to need to fold my focaccia in a minute.
Tangents are fine. We've just got to get back to some Disney stuff. So this week, Rise of the Resistance, the virtual queue changed to actual standby queue.
Yeah.
So people, like, instead of rocking up there at 7 a.m. and trying to get into the virtual queue, we're rocking up there at earlier than
7 a.m.
and trying to just like get into the queue.
Yeah. How did that work out?
It wasn't too bad, actually, by the sounds of it. Like,
but how many people, like, what's the capacity in the parks at the moment?
I have no idea.
Because it must be somewhat reduced.
Well, it's reduced, but there was still, like, obviously, you know.
I mean, it's the 50th anniversary, but I don't think it's necessarily the volumes that you would have seen were it not for the pandemic.
But I think, people go to Hollywood studios, then that's what they want to be doing, is getting onto Rise of Resistance.
Yeah.
So pretty much everyone, I reckon, who's going there is going to be lining up to go onto that ride.
For sure.
So I dare say you're going to be experiencing, like, really, really long waits, particularly when,
Are we talking like Pandora waits?
I think pretty much that's what you're going to be experiencing.
Is there Fast Pass?
No.
Because it's gone. Yeah. Oh, silly girl.
Yeah, so you'll be looking at, I don't know, because I think it might be like, either standby or paid for it. So I think they're going to be your two options. I don't know if there's going to be that Lightning Lane Plus that you probably might be able to get on doing that sort of thing. But at the moment, I think standby is your only real option. So it's just, I think it's kind of a fairer system, to be honest with you, though. I think the virtual queue, it makes so much more sense because you haven't got people standing in a line all day, so they can go and do other things. And from a Disney point of view, they can go and buy merchandise, they can eat food. But if it's just a standby line, you're going to have people like standing in that line for maybe 2 or 3 hours, and they won't be doing other things. So I guess Disney's hoping that people will just pay that money to Lightning Lane it and get in there quickly or get in it at some point. But at least with a standby lane, if you're there and you're in a line, you will get onto that ride. Whereas with the virtual queue, if you get there and you don't get into a boarding party, then that's
your day gone.
Well, then you can try again at 1 o'clock. You could try again at 1 o'clock, but then you might not get into that one either.
Yeah.
So it's a fairer kind of system in a way.
Do you know what the breakdown rate is for this ride?
For Rise of Resistance? I think it is fairly frequent.
Yeah. So that's going to exacerbate the whole queue.
You know what makes things even more interesting is when the Halcyon opens up and they've got to cater for the people that are going to be in that in the Halcyon. So it's going to be like
500 people that get priority.
Yeah,
I think they're probably going to push them through before park open.
You think? Mm-hmm. But well,
either that or after park close.
No, it's got to be. I reckon it's got to be. Maybe it'll stagger it through the day, because that was the thing when we saw that itinerary thing, and it was kind of like, this is what you're going to do, and this is what you're going to do. I was going, surely,
it was a sample itinerary.
Yeah, surely you can't do all that like with everyone in the hotel at the same time, so it'll have to be staggered throughout the day. So maybe it will be not as big a draw because it'll be like only a few people at a time, possibly.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so like you have Group A, Group B, etc. Yeah, that makes sense.
But the interesting is now that the virtual queue is going away on Rise, the virtual queue is starting on Remy Ratatouille Adventure. So maybe and the After Dark Podcast Network.
And it's not to say that they won't bring it back necessarily to Rise. Like maybe they're just testing it out as a standardized queue because they've got another attraction that's newer that's opening.
Maybe, maybe. But it was interesting that the After Dark Podcast Network they pointed out maybe their system doesn't have the ability to cater for more than one attraction doing a virtual queue. It's a possibility.
It is a possibility, but I find that hard to believe.
But they're asking their system to do a lot. And could you imagine if their system breaks down? I mean, it's going to be.
If they'd experienced what I experienced on Thursday, I mean, that would have been horrific. But they would have had backup power and stuff.
Yes.
I don't have that luxury.
But yeah, so
yes, snuff and laugh. Why don't you? That was my day wasted.
I know. But at Cat's work, they had a power out. So
no, we didn't have a power out. We had a power issue.
Power issue, yes. Because there was no power. So
yes, one of our phases decided that it was not going to supply us all the power, just some of it.
Yeah. Also, this week was the another episode of What If, and this was what if Thor was a single child or an only child?
Yeah, like if Loki hadn't been adopted or kept, because that's the thing. That's kind of like it's a bit dubious, isn't it?
That was the way that he brought peace, was going, I'm going to keep this kid. Well, admittedly, though, that was a thing that in...
they never really explained it.
I think in the original, in the MCU, it was kind of like he kept Loki because otherwise he would have just been killed because he wasn't a frost giant necessarily. He was kind of a frost giant, but not a giant. And so he kept him and raised him his own son.
I think that was maybe the thing. Like maybe he was like going to be left out and not, I don't know.
And so whereas here you got to see what Thor would be like if he never had Loki there to kind of give that balance to the family. And it was good to see Thor as just the party guy and just like his mum.
But still had some elements that he had some grounding at least. Like he had some capacity to be grounded. He just chose not. Well, he didn't have to be, I guess, was the big thing.
Yeah. And so it was just a fun episode. And some of the episodes have been quite heavy. So it was good to have a fun episode.
And I think that's why I've got so much appreciation for the what if T'Challa was Star-Lord. So I think I enjoyed that because it was just good, clean fun.
Yeah, and you got to see a different perspective on how the Ravagers will be different if it was T'Challa rather than Peter Quill there, and so it was quite an interesting kind of take on things.
Yeah,
but I just loved the Thor episode. I just thought it was really good fun. It was good to see Jane Foster back, and it was good to see Darcy back as well, because there was a lot of Kat Dennings in this one.
Yeah, there was.
Really, really good episode. So if you haven't checked out What If Thor Was an Only Child yet, I would definitely get onto that one.
Yeah, it's good little fun one.
Yeah. And another thing that dropped this week, they just went, Marvel Visions, boom, there they are.
I know. I was surprised they didn't do them one by one.
I'm kind of glad they didn't because they are very bite-sized episodes, around 15 minutes in total.
I do have a question. Is this the Ninth Jedi or is that a separate thing?
What?
Is the Ninth Jedi part of this?
I have no idea what that is.
Okay.
So the Star Wars Visions is a lot of Japanese animation studios doing their take on Star Wars. And so it's very different. And it's outside of canon. So you're not restricted into the stories you can tell and the ways you want to tell them.
But it's kind of cool that you still have that Star Wars feel, even though the animation is so different from what we've seen in Star Wars animation so far. And it's cool that it still expresses itself as being very Star Wars. Oh,
very much so. And it was the episodes that I've seen so far, just the first 3. The first one was kind of your Ronan comes to town and the bad guys invade and then the Ronan takes them all out. It was that kind of traditional Japanese storytelling. And it was really cool though, because you expect one thing from the lead, good guy, but it turns out to be something a little bit different. So and the artwork and stuff is very that gritty, traditional Japanese kind of animation.
Yeah.
So I loved it. It was, a lot of black and white and browns, and then you got a flash of color. It was just really, really good. Just the way it was produced and the story, very succinct. But yeah, it was great. The second one was a story about a young Jedi who avoids being killed and then ends up befriending I'm assuming that the character was a relative of the Hutts, and then they form a band and they start just touring. But the Hutt is being tracked down by Boba Fett, and it was just a real good story about friendship and family and camaraderie.
What was the line? Something about, I wish we could just finish a show.
So that one was really good, and the third one was really interesting. It was called The Twins, and it was two twins that were born into
two twins or just twins?
So that was twins who were born into being Sith and
like the opposite of like Luke and Leia.
Yeah, and they had a role to play. They were using a kyber crystal to build these spaceships, like 2 Star Destroyers with this big cannon in the middle of it.
Wow!
But the brother foresees something that's going to happen and decides to change his the direction of his life, and it was great. It was really good, and you could really see the parallels between Luke and Leia and these two twins.
Very cool.
So yeah, the 3 I've seen I was really impressed by, and I look forward to.
So I believe that the 9th Jedi is the 9th episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool. Well, I don't want to spoil it. There's stuff out on social media, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
Cool.
But it sounds very, very cool.
Excellent. We shan't spoil that one.
But I've been meaning to ask you that for a while. So it's what's the 9th Jedi?
Well, now we know.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about the care package from Michelle and thank her for her lovely things that she sent?
I do. I really do. So Michelle sent us the most amazing care package I think that anyone has put together. Well, that was fun. Lewis decided that he was going to knock his drink over, which was the level of enthusiasm he felt for. Where were we? Oh, yes, Michelle.
Michelle from the Disney Dream Girl sent us a care package.
Oh, I know, but it was kind of amazing because she had this cruise that was pretty much you couldn't get anything for love nor money. And yet we managed to get this amazing little care package and it was amazing. So we've got a lovely Hogwarts decoration because the Hogwarts Railways decoration for the Christmas tree. So that's ready to go. We might have to put up the Christmas tree soon. We'll get through Halloween first. And a Disney Cruise Line bag, and there was some cups, and there was just all these goodies. There was coffee. There was coffee from Holyhead, from Holy Island. And it was called Pilgrim Coffee. And it was amazing. I've already made a batch of cold brew from that. And what else was there? There was some whiskey marmalade and some cheeky little treats from maybe made of honey that may be alcoholized.
Ooh.
So yeah, just all these little treats. And thank you so much because it was a particularly trying day for me at work, and I came home and there was this box and I was just like, I'd been like, I think I came home. You must have been at your show. So I came home, fed the animals, and I must have walked past it about 3 times. And then I sat down and was just like, why is there a box in front of my soundbar? I'm like, oh, hang on a second. That box looks familiar. Oh, I know that writing. So it was very cool. So thank you so much. You really made my day. And Lewis's, I'm sure.
Yes, that was very, very good. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. Oh, and shortbread. There's shortbread.
Yes, no, it's very, very nice. Look forward to tucking into that. One last thing before we go. This happens every now and again, that the heirs of creators who created some of the characters we love, they try to get back the copyright of the characters.
Oh.
And so some of the heirs, and I think actually Larry Lieber as well, who I'm assuming he must be still alive, which is Stan Lee's brother, who is also a creator in Marvel. They're trying to get back the copyright of their characters, which would have a massive impact when you think about it. Because at the moment, Disney owns all those characters, 100%. But if any of these copyright lawsuits were successful, then they would lose a portion of the entitlements to those characters. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
So including creative control?
Well, I don't think so.
Or just like money rights?
Probably money rights, I would say. I think one of the things that Disney needs to get better at is compensating the creators, in particular, if they're still alive, and with their heirs, like I'm sometimes like dubious about like that, because I think like if it's a creator themselves, then yeah, by all means, like give them the money. But sometimes the heirs just feel to me like they're just trying to get their slice of it. So it's
but like when it's something that your parent has created, then there's an emotional attachment to it. You probably grew up with it.
True, but the thing is, a lot of the unfortunate thing is that when these guys created the characters, they do it as work for hire, understanding that anything that they create is owned by the company that they work for.
Oh, okay. So not necessarily like Stan Lee's kids.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're an example of it, yeah. But, because Stan Lee, he was still, even though he created all those characters, he was still work for hire. But I think that Marvel came to an agreement with him and he got, like, paid for the characters he created. But yeah, I still think that unfortunately, because back in the day, that was the way that creative worked, was they create these characters and then they would be owned wholly and solely by the company.
Right. And
the creators had no rights to those characters. But I still think that they should, if you create a character or if you create a storyline, like, Ed Brubaker basically reintroduced Bucky back into the Marvel universe.
Sure.
As the Winter Soldier. So the whole Winter Soldier storyline, that was all Ed Brubaker. Now, when you take that story and, he created it for comic books, but when you take a story he created and then you put it into a movie, surely you should be going back to him and going, here's what we're going to pay you for that story so we can use it in this other media. And that's what I think Marvel has not been great at, is actually, compensating the people who created these stories that have earned them billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Like, really, you should be, like, because they were writing that story for comics that were going to be produced, and there might have been, say, 100,000 copies of it produced or 1 million copies of it produced. And that was the amount of money that Marvel would make from it. And then, if they sold it as trade paperbacks and stuff like that, they get residuals for those as well. But if you go to another media and you make it into a movie or a TV show and they're using your story in a media that wasn't, specified in your contract, surely you should be going, here's what we're going to pay you to use your story.
It depends on who owns it.
Yeah, exactly. But what I'm saying is, they should, from a moral point of view, go back and actually offer compensation to these people who are making the money now. And that's the thing, is if you want more characters, if you want more stories that you're going to be able to mine for TV and movies, they're the people you're going to want to keep happy. Because they're the ones that are going to create those stories and they're going to create those characters, and then you're going to be able to make money from them for decades. So it's an interesting kind of concept, because they're kind of they're going to want to keep control 100% of the characters, but maybe it's going to end up being they're going to do that by paying money to the heirs so that they stop trying to take their copyright away.
Perhaps. But maybe there needs to be better rights for people that create this creative content. There's a better way to say that. But, they're the ones who create it. So there's got to be better rights for them. So maybe they need like a better union.
Well, yeah, that's one way of doing it.
Well, because there's like, particularly around things like writing and those sorts of things, there's that whole thing of residuals and things. So when things move from being screened initially to going into syndication, there's rules around the money that gets paid to the actors, to the writers, to everyone. So, it's kind of interesting.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
That was what the writer's strike was about back in the late 90s, early 2000s? When we had that writer's strike was about residuals.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I'm saying is like, it's got to be the same thing where if you're taking your story from one media to another media.
Yeah, you've said it. And so it's one of those things where, no, you don't gotta. Like morally, sure. But business-wise, let's face it, business has never been moral. Anyway.
I think it's in their best interest to be honest with you. It is. But anyway, I get that was the last thing I had. So do you have anything else you wanted to speak about?
No, not at all. You had this episode very organised. Thank you very much, Lewis.
That's all right.
We'll catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Diz Down Under is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any external audio played on this podcast is for the purpose of discussion and are the property of the copyright holders. All original content is the property of Diz Down Under, a podcast produced by the Gentlemen of Pop Culture, all rights reserved. This podcast has been brought to you by the Gentlemen of Pop Culture.